Hi, I'm just, this is part two of Nigel Farage, a threat to UK citizens, and I did sort of misquote him really, because in this article, and I have actually says error, I wrongly stated that Mr Farage feels uncomfortable seeing breastfeeding women, when in fact Mr Farage stating he's not particularly bothered about it. However, I question that comment, since he has nonetheless given voice to the issue in full support of those who feel offended, and simultaneously Farage chooses to thoroughly ignore 80% of the UK population who feel offended and uncomfortable about blood sports and hunting with hounds in particular. So, you know, this was the article that I am actually referring to here, and I mean, as far as I'm concerned, the very fact that he is prepared to even give a voice to this issue and make, from this platform of LBC, leading Britain's conversation. So, you know, I'm sorry, why is he leading Britain's conversation about where women should or shouldn't breastfeed their children? You see, it's that incenses me. So as far as I'm concerned, you know, it doesn't make any difference if he says, I'm not particularly bothered about it myself. Okay. But some people are. It makes some people feel very uncomfortable. But meanwhile, he isn't bothered about the 80% of the British population who feel very uncomfortable about hunting foxes with hounds, you see. And it's this hypocrisy that I witness time and time again in the man that so incenses me. And it's stuff like this that people like myself were warning people about on the issue of Brexit, that look, it's all a big red herring, it's all a far-right extremist con job. We're going to lose jobs, you're going to lose your rights, you're going to lose your cheap, safe, abundant supply of food and medicines that's right on your doorstep. They're going to throw you at the mercy of America. They want to rob our NHS, which Nigel Farage has stated he wants the USA-style health system in Britain, and that's what this covers. That's why I've called him a threat to UK citizens, because anybody who stands up and says, I want to remove your healthcare, is a threat to British citizens, because that is what he's saying. Because the American insurance-based system, as I've said in this video, go and check it out. America's healthcare is the lowest in the world. It is among the worst in the world. And it incenses me. It incenses me that he gets a platform on LBC radio, leading Britain's conversation, is all over YouTube, spouting his crap. Now, I'm speaking as somebody who survived 17 years child abuse, nothing was ever done despite crimes being reported to the police, who has spent my whole life caring for people, struggling, even while struggling to live with chronic, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, somebody who had to go for hypnotherapy in order to be able to say my name without stammering, so I could go through higher education. Okay, somebody who stood up for animal rights, children's rights, human rights, vegan for 27 years. I've been ridiculed, judged, spat on, attacked, scorned, judged mad, judged crazy because I witnessed an event of universal light being. Apparently, there's no such thing. There's no such thing. And I asked myself, well, what are all these churches then? Who was it again that's put the crown on the Queen's head and ordained her to be Queen and head of Britain's church? What is it all about? Oh, apparently it is only about something when it's supporting rich people. Something that's coming from the ground, from real lived experience, well, you can just dismiss that. You can dismiss it. But what absolutely enrages me is that people will say, well, he's been given a platform, you know, for the sake of balance. So, you know, you get two sides of the argument, because on the one hand, LBC is giving him a platform, but then they're also giving, oh my gosh, I can't remember his name, but this other guy who speaks out in favour of the EU. So it's like, well, there's some sort of balance there. Well, I'm sorry, wake up, people, because and this is why I've made part 2, is to make exactly this point, that we do not need to balance sanity with insanity, okay? We do not need to balance our human rights against fascism. Seriously, the man is a criminal. He's a criminal. What he's inciting, what he's advocating, what he's supporting a lawfully suspected criminal president of the United States. And it outrages me that the amount of British people are prepared to listen to him, but they're not prepared to listen to the granddaughter of a war hero and a war nurse. They're not prepared to look at the sacrifice our own ancestors made. They're not even prepared to show respect for those people that suffered so much to fight exactly against this rhetoric that was threatening the whole world, as far as they were concerned and as far as they knew. And they established a fairer, humane society in Britain. And where is it? Where is it? And these people are talking to me about nationalism and about Britain's rights, getting back to British culture. Well, British culture is what my grandfather gave his life for. British culture is what my grandmother worked, suffered and strived throughout her life for, and all the people of her generation. That's British culture. The culture that established human rights. The culture that established an NHS that he wants to take away. No, balance is about having reasonable, lawful, humane people who uphold and support the law and our human rights. To listen to varying degrees of perspectives on a sane level of consciousness. Not that sanity has to be balanced by fucking outright insanity that's been coming from this loon, and how dare anybody give him any publicity. And LBC, I stopped listening to you all completely. You cut out of my life because you give this piece of filth airtime. And yes, I am outraged. I am outraged to witness this directly as a result of Brexit, insurmountable Brexit-related issues. To give the exact quote, 25,000 jobs at risk. No money to invest in British steel. Okay, no money to keep it going. But oh, plenty, trillions for these criminal bankers. Yes, the whole nation will suffer austerity. People will be forced to their graves for the sake of these fucking criminal bankers. But meanwhile, I have to what? I have to witness this. It's insanity. It is insanity. Are you telling me that people voted for this, the people who were voting Brexit, is that what you were voting for? So we'd have no NHS, so that we'd have no British steel, so we have no cheap, abundant, safe food and medicines on our doorstep. Is that what you were voting for?